and welcome back to another After Hours TBR. This is an April Magical Readathon special where I am combining my usual TBR game, which is a virtual game, with the Magical Readathon and just trying to tick off as many prompts as I can in as few books as possible. How that turns out, you'll have to wait and see. I do have a few books on my TBR already, because of course I do. The first one is my Patreon book club pick, which is a surprise, but if you want to know more about that, I will post the link down below. We also have the Patreon pick that is from my teapot, which was selected before I started filming this, and I pulled out Just Ignore Him, which was chosen by Lucille, so thank you very much. This is a non-fiction about Alan Davis. It's like a memoir. He's written several memoirs, but I think this is his most anecdotal one, less comedic one, but I'm very much looking forward to that because I've been really into kind of anything written by comedians recently, so I'm really looking forward to that one. And then of course the third book that has to be on my TBR this month is Monsters of Men by Patrick Ness, which is the third in the Chaos read along. It is a hefty boy. It is going to be emotionally traumatizing, and that just is what it is. So those three are absolutely on my TBR. I have to read those. I have to prioritize them. The rest, I am very much in the mood for some fantasy. I am very much in the mood for some gothic and some horror. I think I'm going to step away from contemporaries if I can for now, as much as I am really enjoying them. And as you can see, I've still got a heck ton behind me. I know for a fact that I will have a lot more time to read in April, and I think because the books I usually recommend people are the fantasy, gothic and horror genres, I want to lean back into those, so make the time to read as many as I can so I can then recommend them to people, as opposed to contemporaries, which are more just for me, if that makes sense. So here is my After Hours TBR, and then I will show you afterwards how I managed to squish that into my Magical Readathon. Okay, so with it being the Magical Readathon, I just want horror, fantasy and gothic. That's what we're going for. We're going to try and speed read. Oh, beautiful. Fantasy right off the off. Let's go down. I don't want non-fiction. So I noticed that my reading has gone from like 11 and 17 books a month straight down to 4 books a month, which is not ideal. I don't really have a lot of time most months, but write that one. Let's do a thriller mystery. But in April I will have 3 weeks off because of the Easter break, because of the way my school works. So that means I should have plenty of time to read my big and spookies. And if I can actually complete a Magical Readathon for the first time ever, I think we'll all be very proud of me. I don't want historical fiction. I don't want literary, but I do want another fantasy. I would rather have more horror. I feel like it's coming out very fantasy heavy. So if we can find some more horrors, that would be amazing. But genuinely, if I can make it to the end of this first round and already have all my books, that would be really impressive. I think that'd be I don't think I've done it once. I think in all the times that I've played this game, I have never once completed it within the allotted time, which I think is like a minute. And I'm not going to do it today. I think I would have if I'd picked every book. That is a complete waste of a wall. What a waste of a wall. Oh. I jinxed it. I was doing really well. Okay. Right, I don't want historical. Let's go all the way down. Another horror. My cat is yelling. What are you yelling at, my boy? Yeah. I don't know if you can hear that. He's very upset about something. I think my guess would be burbs. That it's burbs. How's that not 10 already? I definitely feel like I've clicked on 10 books so far. And another gothic. There we go. Okay. So, sci-fi or fantasy, a booktube favourite. Horror, favourite author. Oh, what a beautiful prompt. What a beautiful prompt. A thriller mystery standalone. Horror, multiple POV. Fantasy in a foreign country. Well, any fantasy, in theory, could be a foreign country. A steamy fantasy. Gothic fiction with monsters. A cute cover horror. Okay. And then a genre crossover, because apparently I can't spell. Genre crossover for thriller mystery and spring vibes gothic fiction. Gothic fiction's all about the winter. Oh, I've just seen one that would work really well. I've just seen one that will work really well because I've TBR'd it twice and not picked it up. Therefore, it will work really well. Okay, I am going to go put this TBR together with my Magical Readathon TBR, and I will be right with you. The first time I ever did a Magical Readathon TBR, I was actually wearing this very same jumper, and I basically just stole books from other TBRs from other booktubers who were taking part, and this was way back when, 4 or 5 years ago, when this new style started where you create a character and you then have a calling that you try and follow. And I, every year, do terribly, but what I tend to do is put prompts to all of the books and then see what calling I come out as, and I've come out as a variety of different things, but it's never been the calling that I specifically want. So here's hoping for a better year. I think last year it was something like herbologist. I think I've been a herbologist twice, and maybe I just need to accept my lot in life, my lot in fantasy life. But I feel like there's way cooler, more interesting callings. So we're going to aim high. But with that in mind, I have TBR'd for every prompt, and then I've tried to squish some in with some after hours prompts, and this is what my TBR looks like moving forwards. One of the prompts was a book you had already planned on TBRing, so that was nice and easy. I have to read this book. If you don't know about the Chaos Readathon, we are on to book 3, so it is an interesting time to jump on. However, Patrick Ness is a known author of making people cry, so I was all on board until I saw how massive these books are. But Becca had already asked, and Becca is lead host with a couple of extra co-hosts. So myself, Emma, Olivia and Abby have been helping talk about these books and being traumatized along the way. And I can't say I'm not having a good time. So here's to more trauma in April. For the lore prompt, I needed a book with a magical world in the title, and I've got The Love Curse of Melody Macintyre by Robin Talley. This was gifted to me by Olivia, and I have since received the hardback copy from Becca, I think. I can't remember. I get people's unhauls all the time, and I need to stop. Because I think that because I'm not buying them from a shop, I'm not buying books, and yet I'm clearly still buying books. Anyway, but if I really like it, I fully intend to annotate one version and keep the hardback. I don't know anything about this other than I really like Robin Talley's style of writing. In the previous book that I read, it had like a supernatural twist to it, so I think this might do as well. Or at least I'm hoping that it does. I don't want it to be a straight contemporary, but it is an LGBT romance, and I'm really here for that. For elemental magic, I will be reading With Fire on High because it has fruit on the cover. This is potentially the 3rd time I've TBR'd this, but only the 1st time I've TBR'd it this year, so not unhauling it anytime soon. This is the last book I have by Elizabeth Acevedo that I have not yet read, for no other reason than I've just not been prioritising it. But with how much I've been really enjoying BIPOC contemporaries, I was happy to put this one on this TBR, considering how much fantasy, sci-fi and horror will also be on this TBR. Spoilers for ahead. But I love her style of writing. I think this is going to be a YA purely because it's hotkeys, but I also know that it's about a young mum and kind of surviving as a family. Other than that, I don't know a whole lot about it, and I don't mind that. I've had it for a while, I need to read it, and I'm really looking forward to it. For demonology, which was including a missing person, and for my after hours TBR, a thriller standalone, I have got Tell Me No Lies by Andrea Contos, which was gifted to me last Christmas by Becca, so thank you very much, Becca. I know very little about this except that it is a standard contemporary thriller. A young boy has gone missing, and it has caused 2 sisters to have a rift, and then I think the rest is going to be the actual mystery, so I don't want to go into it any more than that. But really intrigued by this one, and we love picking up gifted books, so thank you again, Becca. It's always good to have some quick reads on your TBR when it comes to Magical Readathon. So for my random colour generator, which was the astronomy pick, I came out with light green, and whilst this is like a light tealy green, I think with the yellow and like the green on the corner, I think that's enough to count. This is the 4th volume of Lore Olympus. I did order 5 and 6 from my distributor months ago, and they never turned up, so I'm going to finish this one and then follow up with them and hopefully get to those as well. But I really enjoy this series. If you need any entry-level graphic novel series, this is very easy to digest because the way the chapters are written, it was originally a webtoons, so you can do it in kind of digestible chunks without feeling like you have to read the whole thing in one sitting. Like, she's still chunky, she's still a heavy girl, but she's so good. She's worth every page, and I'm really excited to continue this series. Alchemy's prompt was a was all capitals title, and then I also had a horror pick for favourite author, so I'll be picking up What Moves the Dead by 𝚃𝚗𝚎. This is a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher and is a part of a duology. I keep meaning to pick up book 2, but then I keep refusing to pick up book 2 because I haven't picked up book 1 yet, and I'm really trying not to do that. I'm really trying to not buy sequels if I've not read the first book. I have very little concerns about whether I'm going to enjoy this. And again, it should be a nice quick win for the Magical Readathon this month. For psionics, which the prompt was witchcraft, and for a horror with multiple POV, I have picked up the Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This is a library edition from the school library. Now, the reason I don't own this book is because I have a real issue with Grady Hendrix and Grady Hendrix writing. The concepts are always top tier, like they're always fantastic, but having read I think 3 of his books now, sometimes the misogyny be misogyning. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes it just doesn't work because he's a man, and that really concerned me, knowing that this would be in response to the kind of like Catholic oppression of young women who got pregnant, and kind of the way they were forced into essentially work slavery by these like nuns and the Catholic Church if they got pregnant out of wedlock. Worries me, immediately worries me. However, having had 3 friends of mine who have very similar issues with Grady Hendrix's writing already read this and already tell me that this is better and that this works, I am more inclined to give it a go. I am not so inclined as to spend my money on it yet though, hence the library copy. So if I don't read it over this half-term break, I don't have to buy it. That's fine, I can just give it back. No harm, no foul, it cost me nothing, which is good because we are trying to buy fewer books this year. It's not a thing I reference very often, but we are trying to buy fewer books this year. The restoration prompt was a 4-star rating book, which I'm assuming is on Goodreads or Storygraph, whichever other app you use to rate your books. And then a fantasy book, BookTube favourite, meant that I could come back to Babel. I've started tabbing this 3 years ago. I think it's 3 years ago. I'm going to say it with my whole chest if it is 3 years, because it was 2022, I was right, 3 years ago. I started tabbing this. I do generally remember what happened because I didn't get that far in. But this is about a young boy who is basically taken from his family because they're really poor somewhere in Asia. He's then brought to London where he is made a young man, and then he goes off to Oxford to study languages and the fact that language has magic when attributed to metal, I think specifically silver, things like that. Really, really interesting concept, very high fantasy, and BookTube lapped it up when it came out. I have 2 editions of this book because I have this standard edition and then I also have the Illumicrate edition. This one I was annotating. I do want to go back to annotating. Need to get the tabs. And if I'm ever going to find time to do that, it will be over the 3-week half-term break, because otherwise it's not going to happen. So that is why I'm finally TBRing it again. I've actively avoided TBRing it until I knew I would have time. So if I don't have time, it's just not going to happen, and I need to accept that. When I inevitably get so burnt out that I spend all of the 3 weeks of Easter just snoozing, know that my intentions were good, if misguided. And then my final prompt for the Magical Readathon was Shapeshifting, a book with a dragon in the title or on the cover. I've gone for both. Look at this little baby boy. We've got the Baby Dragon Cafe, which is a adult romance set in a cafe that's kind of giving like Legends and Lattes vibes meets Hex the X. So could be here for it. I feel like these baby dragons are going to feel like cats, and I feel like that's a vibe. I love it when mythical creatures are treated like domestic babies. Here for it. This should be super cute and super quick, so wish me luck with that one. But even with this massive list of books, haven't finished yet. For my after hours TBR, we still have another 5 books to go. For a fantasy set in a foreign country, I've gone for The Girl with No Reflection by 𝚘𝚎. Now, I don't know if this is set in like a other world foreign country or just a foreign country to the UK. So I went with a BIPOC author so that I could definitely have that prompt ticked off one way or the other. And other than that, I know nothing about it. This was an arc gifted to me by 𝚘𝚎, so thank you very much, 𝚘𝚎. I'm finally getting to it because this book has been out for some time. And I can only apologise. Then we have a fantasy, a steamy book. I will be reading The Power of Hades, which was gifted to me by Sophie, who I met through Becca's Discord, because I'm part of Becca's Patreon. Thank you very much. I know you gifted this to me a while ago. I'm finally getting to it, and I love that in the message it says hashtag Hades supremacy. We love to see it. We've got 2 Hades romances, one considerably more steamy than the other, and I'm really looking forward to it. For the gothic fiction pick that has monsters in it, I'm going to be reading Bat-Eater by Kylie Lee Baker. This is the Evernight Illumicrate edition, which I'm really excited to get to. I don't really want to break it, so I will probably do this via audiobook as well, but I've heard really, really good things. And ghosts definitely count as monsters. So the fact that this is a BIPOC creepy ghost and different kind of mythology to the westernized style that I'm used to seeing, I'm really excited about it. Now, I know it was really tricky. I immediately panicked when I saw that I had horror cute cover, because most horrors are gross or dark or spooky. But regardless of the fact there is blood dripping from his little pawsies, I think any kind of rat or mouse on a cover is adorable. I'm also so here for bright lime green font on any book. So I will be reading Graveyard Shift by ML Rio, because I still haven't yet. Where have I been? I've been reading contemporaries. I need to read more horror, and I've heard nothing but good things about this novella. I'm so excited about it. Look at this little schnoz. For a thriller mystery crossover, another book that I have TBR'd multiple times, but not this year, so it doesn't count, is The Echo Wife. I feel like I've had this for as long as I've had a YouTube channel, and I don't know why I haven't read it yet. I really enjoy Sarah Gailey's writing. I've enjoyed her horrors, I've enjoyed her historical fictions. I need to get onto her sci-fi. So the fact this has cloning in it is that sci-fi element crossover, but one wife is potentially trying to take over another wife's life. And why are there 2 wives? We've only got to read it to find out. Yes, I feel like it's time. The stars are aligning. It should be a really good time. Like, the fact that I've read more Sarah Gailey's now than when I bought this, it should be the right time to read it. And if it isn't, I need to have words with myself, because I keep TBRing that one, and I keep leaving it literally years between TBRing it so I don't have to unhaul it, which is cheating. That's cheating. But this book I have TBR'd once already, when I needed a fantasy with disability rep, and this time I needed a gothic with spring vibes, and it's got flowers on the cover. That's spring vibes. We've got The Whispering Dark. I still know nothing about it other than that the main character is deaf. I still know nothing about it except the fact that this is another Evernight edition. I need to prioritise this book, because I keep not reading it. And there's no reason. There's no like, oh, I just don't fancy it. I've put it on my TBR. I fancy it at the start of the month, and then by the end of the month, I'm like, eh. So I need to pick it up. Please hold me accountable. Usually at the end of these videos I say, which one should I start with? I should start with this one. Yell at me in the comments to start The Whispering Dark, or give me a good reason to unhaul it, because for the love of God, I've TBR'd it so many times. There are more post-it notes in that book than actual pages. So anyway, that's my TBR for April. Wish me all of the luck, all of the rest. I am hoping, much like last time, I did actually film a wrap up for Feb in March. I just never posted it. So I'm going to post it as a kind of like seasonal first 3 months worth of reading wrap up. And then I will film another one for April. I am hoping to film a lot more videos in April and then kind of sporadically share them. So if you're a Patreon, expect a lot of content coming your way, because I'll share it with you guys first and then schedule it out. That's the plan. And again, no reason not to. May you have the best time in Magical Readathon. Let me know in the comments down below what book you will be starting with in April. And most importantly, have a nice day.